Hey everybody, David here with the Plant Medicine for PTSD podcast, but you already knew that because you hit play on this. Of course, you know what podcast you're listening to. My guest today, somebody very special. This dude's super fucking cool. His name is John H. Davis, and he is a veteran who lives abroad, and he's kind of the travel guy for veterans. So he literally wrote the book on this called Veterans in Paradise, The Veteran's Guide to Moving Abroad. He's actually written a handful of books, including a book of affirmations for veterans, which is really cool. He's written another one, or at least he's working on writing another one that for some reason nobody wants to publish. So perhaps by the time you're hearing this, he will have published yet another book. John's a really cool guy. He's got a super interesting story of just like his life and his career and how he ended up becoming this person that he is now. I really thought that his whole like business model was that he runs this really successful like travel blog and probably makes a ton of money by, advertising and doing these sponsorship deals and all that stuff. But like, no, not at all. He just lives off of his pension from the military. If you want to, he'll give you his book for free in a PDF version. If you want it in print, obviously you got to pay for that just because it costs money to print the paper. But he's not doing any of this stuff to get rich. He's doing all of this genuinely just to help people have a better quality of life. And that's something that we talk about a lot in this podcast is how I think there's this misconception with Americans specifically because it's kind of like hammered into us that like America's the greatest country on earth. And like, yes, I do believe that for a variety of reasons. I think that's true, but there are things that are objectively better in other countries. Like here in Mexico, you can text your dentist and set up an appointment via WhatsApp and go pay $100 out of pocket for something that would cost 7 grand in the United States. There's myriad examples of things like that. And that's actually something that John is pretty passionate about, is helping people navigate healthcare in other countries, specifically how veterans can still use their health benefits and use everything that they're covered for and take advantage of those things that they're entitled to and that they deserve in other countries. Currently, John is spending a lot of time in Colombia, but I'm sure by the time you're listening to this, he might be somewhere else. One of the things I really appreciated about him, I think we recorded this episode around Christmas time, is that he likes to give back to the local community wherever he is at. So he was actually organizing like a toy donation drive for the kids in his community there in Colombia, which is really cool to see. So I'll let John speak for himself for the rest of the episode. Just wanted to give a little bit of context there about him. I really enjoyed getting to know John. I really enjoyed this episode with him. So hopefully, if you are a veteran, whether that's American or Canadian, you can reach out to him. You can check out his website, check out his Instagram, check out his book, and you can end up living abroad just like he does. Thank you very much for being here. Let's dive into this interview with John Davis, the veteran expat travel guy. I like that shirt, by the way. That's
Yeah,
fucking
man.
sweet. Is that
Veterans in
like your
Paradise.
your official
That's the group.
merch?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We
We're
don't sell them or anything, but
just give them out at your
we sell
meetups or
like our
something.
events and stuff.
Yeah, I like it. Is is Colombia your home base now, or are you still kind of like moving around to other places?
Uh, I'm all the way nomadic. I mean, I'm in an Airbnb here right now until Christmas, and then I am obligated to go back and see my mother, or she will guilt trip me for the entire year for Christmas. So, and then January, I will either come back here or find a new place to go.
Okay, nice. And home is in Iowa for you, is that what you said?
Yeah, that's where I'm originally from.
Bro, going from Colombia to Iowa in wintertime, that's rough.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about here is a lot of people, Colombia obviously has different climates, but in Medellin it's called the city of eternal spring. So every day is pretty much like 75, which is a big, big
That's nice.
change to the rest of the world. And that's one reason why it brings a lot of retirees, people here, because the weather is so kind of like calm year round. It stays the same. There's no like it doesn't get hot to 100, it doesn't get down to 50. It's just right there all year round. And a lot of people don't like dealing with like the heat of the Dominican Republic or
Mm-hmm.
Mexico or some other places.
Yep.
You come here it's pretty like, level, especially fat people. They don't like to eat.
That sounds nice, man. Because yeah, the summer here gets rough, and it's the rainy season, so it's
Mm,
honestly terrible. Bro, last night or yesterday, I was in the middle of a work meeting. I was like on a client call, and my wife texts me, and she's like, "Hey, when you're finished, come downstairs. There's a snake under our sofa." I was like, "Dude, how am I supposed to focus on the rest of this work call right now?" And so I went downstairs. It was just a little guy. It was like not poisonous or anything. We got it out of the house, but I was like, I guess this is the trade-off because like I will never shovel snow ever again. So I
right.
deal with the
And that's what
occasional snake.
To me, that's what living abroad is every day is an adventure with possibility. It feels like there's a sense of wonder and discovery and curiosity about everyday life that you just
For
don't
sure.
have, kind of trapped in the matrix, the United States or Canada. But you come to a place like Colombia or Mexico, and every day there's no real routine. There is a routine, but there's not a routine because anything is
Yep.
possible. And that's one of
Yep.
the beautiful things to me about living outside the United States.
Dude, yeah, I mean, we were supposed to do this a couple weeks ago, and you're like, "Oh, hey, they're doing construction in my apartment complex right now." I was
Yep,
on
that's what it is.
I was on another one of these the other day, and the power went out. Unfortunately, I have like a really nice backup battery, but all of a sudden the lights all go out. I'm like, that's
Mhm.
life in Mexico right there. So, dude, when you go back to the States, first of all, is that just like once a year for holidays kind of thing, or are you going back fairly often? Like, what's that like for you?
No, there has to be an occasion to get me back there. I mean, there has to be something going on. There has to be someone's got to die, someone's got to get married, something
Yeah.
like that. And then I didn't go home for Christmas last year, and I know if I skip this Christmas as well, then my mother is going to give me a hard time until she sees me. So sometimes it's best
Yep.
to just bite the bullet, and then you go back there. Like I can go do a doctor's appointment if I need to. I can go like fix my banking stuff. I can renew my passport. So there's like some logistical issues that are good to take care of
Yeah.
while you're in the United States. But there's no real reason other than that for me to go back, other than just to make my mom happy.
Get like a backup credit card because if you lose it, they won't ship it to you when you're outside the States. I dealt with
Yeah,
that.
there's some
Yeah.
bureaucratic stuff that you kind of
Yep.
go back for. And there's going to be a lot of people think if you move abroad it's like a forever thing. Like no, you're not like Brittany Griner. Like you can go back whenever you want. You can visit, you can, if you get homesick because, expat fatigue and burnout is a real thing. So for a lot of people that get abroad, sometimes they get isolated and it's good to go back, once a year just to kind of reset. And also, whenever I go back, it's also a big reminder why I moved because you go back to the United States and you're kind of thrust back into this,
Yep.
negativity, political division, and every conversation. Like last time I was there, I was like, why are people like debating with me? Like, why is every conversation
Why
like
is
have
this
this
a
kind of like
thing? An
level of
argument.
tension and stress
Yep.
to it? And then you come, to Latin America and everyone's kind of like, oh, well, good morning. How's everything going? Like, just kind of like more relaxed conversation. In the United States and the Western world, every conversation feels like a debate.
Dude, that's exactly what I was going to ask you about to kind of highlight because that's not apparent until you have lived somewhere else and then you come back. I was telling
Right.
my sister about this. There's like a parable about like two fish walking down the street and like there's an older fish and he's like, "Good morning, boys. How's the water?" And the two young fish are like, "What the hell is water?" Right? That's the environment that most Americans I think are in where they have no idea that they are steeped in constant
Yeah.
fucking stress and division. And like you go to get your haircut and Fox News is on the TV. And it's like, I'm getting a haircut. Why is this all of a sudden a political
Right.
thing? Like you cannot escape it.
100%. No, it's inescapable. You're constantly thrust in that environment no matter where you're at. And everybody's just so politically exhausted, but they don't realize it. Like, well, I guess they do. I mean, everybody realizes it. I mean, people
I don't
aren't
think they
necessarily
realize there's an
overwhelmed.
alternative. Like they don't realize it
Right.
cannot be that way.
Yeah, and you're just, you're not informed by anything. You're just overwhelmed by everything. And a lot of people just now have their guard up when it comes to everything and are so defensive, and nobody's even open to others' opinions or ways of living. And then you kind of remove yourself from that. And when you look back, it looks like a reality show. Like that's what it looks like to me. Like the news looks like a reality show. Like if you read the headlines without having like any understanding of how crazy shit is, it does look like a reality show. Like if you were to put today's headlines,
Yep.
40 years ago in the news, it would just read like science fiction.
Yep. Dude, why do you think it's so different? Especially, I guess most of your experience is Latin America, right? Have you spent much time living in
Mhm.
like Europe or Asia or anything, or has it been
I
mostly
lived in
Latin
Asia.
America?
I started in Thailand.
Yeah.
So I did my first year living abroad in Thailand. Some of that is because it's a more homogenous culture. Like obviously if you're in Thailand or you're here, everybody kind of has a more baseline thing. Whereas in the United States, people are more divided. And then also you have this kind of like first world problems type thing where you have the luxury to go crazy about Palestine or climate change or something like that, whereas if you were to talk to someone here that hey, there's war in the Middle East, they'd be like, there's always a war in the Middle East. It's forever for the last thousands of years. Like there's nothing new about that. So and there's a certain outrage culture in the Western world where we care about things that don't directly impact us.
Yep.
And in other places, like I'm sure where you're at in Mexico, people generally don't care about things unless it impacts them. Like you wouldn't even think to care about things that don't impact you because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I think, you know, when you have that kind of like high level of stress where you're stressed about things in the Middle East or you're stressed about things in Russia and Ukraine or you're stressed about wherever else, it's just hard to be happy. It's hard to let that
Exactly.
kind of like stress and all that kind of like wave off you. And that's when I talk to people about how your mindset is so tied to your environment and your mental health is so tied to your environment. And once you change your environment, you can really change your life. And for me, when I first moved abroad, it was really a big wake up call. And that's kind of what led me talking to people about it, to talking to veterans like, okay, maybe there's other ways of living. And when you see people that are happier with less, it really is an eye opening experience. When you see people who are grateful, when you see people are happy day to day, when you see people are smiling day to day, then it forces you kind of acknowledge that maybe we have a problem in the Western world.
Yep. I think you hit the nail on the head with both things, man, especially like the first world problems. Because, yeah, dude, people here in Mexico, like, they have legitimate things to be concerned about. They're not concerned
Yeah.
about fucking gender ideology. And
No.
like, you see some occasional protests or mostly just like graffiti about social issues and stuff like that. But yeah, man, everyone's
Yeah.
just living their life, dude. It's
And I
a,
don't think people want unity in the United States. I do not think people want unity. I used to think that people wanted to agree to disagree. I no longer think that. It every time I go back, it's kind of like a big acknowledgement that, it it doesn't seem to be getting better. And for me, moving abroad just was something that kind of happened on accident. And then it's kind of been my mission to spread the word about the benefits of moving and living abroad, especially for my community for veterans, but also for people who deal with high stress jobs or have pensions in America, like police officers, firefighters, corrections. You see a lot of those people who retire younger with benefits. And it's become kind of impossible to ignore that the rising cost of living has impacted like mental health
yep.
across the world to where if you're so stressed about the bills, it's hard to be happy. And your financial health is mental health. And when you move abroad, especially if you're taking the same paycheck that you had in America, you quickly go from poor to rich just by changing your zip code.
Yeah, man. Dude, the property taxes on our house here, it's like $300 a year or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? My parents probably pay like a grand a month in New Jersey.
Oh,
It's
that's
insanity.
absolute. It's insane, and you can't ever own anything like you mentioned because you got the taxes.
Yep.
So and when you stop worrying about the bills every single month, it opens your mind up to all these other things. You have this creativity, you have this love for life, you have this peace, you have this adventure, you have this like whole other way of living because we have tied ourselves to our debt. Like we've become slaves to just debt of houses for expensive weddings, expensive cars, and all those things. And I think people are now kind of transitioning back into experiences over possessions, and kind of sick of the toxic materialism, consumerism that has just overtaken us.
Yep. I laughed when you said the weddings things. My sister's getting married next year. And dude, like she wants a small wedding and her fiance wants like a big thing with all the family and all the traditional shit. And I'm like, dude, that's such I mean, I don't know. I'll be there. That's probably the next time I'm
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
in the States is for that.
And
So
a lot of people
shouldn't talk
say
shit
like,
about it.
oh, I can never afford to live abroad. Like, well, I don't know how you
I couldn't
afford to
afford to
live in
live
the
there,
United
dude.
States. Yeah. I mean, just because when your money goes further, your quality of life
Well, that's
increases.
that's the
Like, that's
thing,
just
man.
what
Like
it is.
I would actually love to move back
to the United States, but I would have to be making so much more money to make that
Right.
feasible in order to have the same quality of life that we have here. Because, like, dude, we have a nanny who literally has a college education. She has a degree in like early childhood education, and we pay her extremely well for like
Hmm.
standards here, and we still pay her like what feels like almost nothing. Like
Yeah.
that alone would bankrupt us in New Jersey,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like no factor, and that allows us to be able to work more, so we earn more money. So like it makes perfect sense.
And
Dude, you said
you can have a
something.
maid, you can go out to eat, you can
Well,
have all these
I
kind
was
of
just
like
telling
additional things.
I was just talking to my sister, and we were talking about having kids. And I said, when we have our next kid, we're going to hire a housekeeper to help us with like cooking, cleaning, laundry, that kind of stuff. Because it's like I have my own business. So, like, my time with my family is the most important thing. And then working. Like, that's how I get value and create value. And the look on my sister's face when I just mentioned like hiring a housekeeper, it was immediately like, oh, like, what do you think? You're like fucking better than everyone else? You have a housekeeper? And I was like, I saw it on her face, and I was like, dude, I knew exactly what she was thinking because I had the same thoughts. But it's just like,
Yeah.
it's just different here, man. It's just a different way of life. And now that housekeeper has a fucking sweet job because I'm an awesome person to work for because I pay them great and
Right.
Christmas bonuses and time off and shit like that. So it's like a completely different mindset being down here. And it's still, I'm like unprogramming certain things like that of like just resistance to embracing certain things. It's
And how do
weird,
you
man.
explain that to people in your family? You know, kind of explain the day-to-day stuff. It's hard to explain to people, and I think people are so hardwired to like judge and all those things that that's one thing that when it comes to moving and living abroad, sometimes you can't listen to other people because people will talk you out of it.
No,
People will, you know,
no.
because I talk to people every day who are thinking about moving abroad, and the worst thing you can do is listen to people who are unhappy or trapped in the routine or
Yeah, dude.
depressed in their own lives. It's like listening to a broke person about financial matters or something like that. Why are you
Absolutely.
doing that? Don't listen
Which
to an unhappy person about happiness.
I was just gonna joke about that. Here in Tulum, man. Have you ever been to Tulum specifically in
No,
Mexico? All right,
no.
I'm not gonna pitch you on coming here. It's a weird place. It's nice for certain things, but you got better beaches where you're at. But it attracts a very strange type of spiritual person, and there's all these like abundance coaches and wealth coaches, and I'm like, bitch, I know that you're
Yeah.
broke too. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Also, just to rewind for a second, Rachel, I love you. I'm not trying to talk shit about your wedding, and I know that you don't think that I think I'm better than you. Dude, I want to go back to something else you said. You said that you moved abroad accidentally. So, like,
Yeah,
how do you
well,
do that? What do you mean?
I did a short-term teaching program in Thailand. So I was
Okay, teaching
originally going
English.
to Thailand. Yep, teaching English.
Cool.
So I had done my student teaching and stuff in the United States, and I realized that I could never teach an American public education. So like I'm getting cursed out by like seventh graders and eighth graders. Like I'm fighting with parents, and I just got out of the military, so like I can't handle some like
Yeah, dude.
12-year-old
Fight
kid
some
telling me to
12-year
fuck
old.
myself. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm about to fight all these kids. I'm fighting with parents, like, and it was kind of a difficult time for me because I was really like I cannot. I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and I can't do it. I'm not going to be capable of this. So I did this teaching program in Thailand, and I go over there, and every child was the most respectful person in the entire world. They're bowing to me. They are turning in all their work. They're very respectful. They're sitting and listening. Um, and the educational system over there, I only had to teach like 4 lessons a day, and I also like supported and helped by the administration, by the school, by the parents. Like, and they also hit kids in the classroom, which was kind of shocking to me to see like the Thai teacher, like I would be teaching, I have a Thai co-teacher. If the kids weren't paying attention, she fucking whap them. Like they'll
Damn.
do stuff like that, which to me, I was like, oh, you can't, we're all going to go to jail. But over there, it's more culturally acceptable. So then, you know, I kind of like, while I was over there, I rented an apartment and my apartment was $300 a month. So I'm like, okay, like this is crazy. Like I had just medically retired from the army, so I was getting my pension, and then I was teaching over there, so I was making a little bit of money in this kind of short term. It was like a 90-day program where you go get certified, and then they put you in a
Mhm.
position, and you get to do teaching, and then you go back to the United States. And I just didn't go back to the United States because I was renting an apartment $300 a month, and I was like, okay, and I paid a year upfront in advance.
That's
Obviously, it's
awesome.
$300. Like here's a year's worth of rent. And then I didn't have to worry about the rent or any bills for an entire year other than my cell phone, which was my only bill at the time. So I was like, okay, this is awesome. And then I started going out to eat more. I started reconnecting with nature. I started exploring Buddhism. I started getting into kind of all of these awesome cultural things. And I realized, a lot of things about the United States, the culture I've been programmed into, the work-life balance and all that type of stuff. So that was just a big kind of experience for me. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to live abroad for the rest of my life because first, the cost of living. That's kind of the first thing that got me. But then after that, it was the mental health benefits, it was the adventure, it was the peace, it was the dating, the relationships. I mean, everything to me got better once I left the United States. And a lot of people talk to me, and I'm sure you kind of get this too, like, what are the downsides? And it's hard for me to really even talk about that because for me, there's not an element of my life that is not better outside the United States than inside the United States.
Mhm.
Like, of course, I kind of miss like my family and friends and like college football and things like that. But everything else kind of dramatic outweighs it so much. It's not even funny.
I agree on that last point. As far as downsides go, it's just like little inconveniences of like I bought this whoop band from America. It took like 12 weeks to fucking get here because it got held up in customs and stuff like that. So people who are used to like next day delivery on Amazon, like you're gonna have a
Yeah,
bad experience. But it's really
yeah, that's
minor
good.
shit, man. And I look at stuff like that as like this is the tax that I pay for all of the other benefits.
Right.
That's kind of crazy that that was how you moved abroad. It's so that program was to like do this teaching thing in Thailand to get a certification and then come back and teach in the States. Like that's like a
No,
program for
it
that
was
purpose.
English as second language teaching,
Oh,
so it was
okay,
like
okay,
a
okay.
certificate. So then that makes you like it. The idea is then you come back to the United States and you're a better teacher for kids of of other native languages and stuff
Start
like that. So it's kind of
smacking
like a
kids, and you're like, this is what we did in Thailand.
yeah,
Come on, it's cool.
yeah. It's an advanced teacher certification, but then it gives you a certification to teach English pretty much anywhere in the world. So I kind of like found about this program at the college I was going to, went over there, and I was like, okay, this is a big thing. And then especially for me because I had a military pension. So it didn't make sense for me to be in the United States because that money is going to go three times further other
For sure.
places. People talk a lot about like the 1%. Like to be in the 1% of America, you have to make like $800,000 a year or something. But to be in the top global 1% of earners, you only need to make like $60,000 a year. So I tell anyone, if you're making $60,000 a year, you are in the top 1% of global earners. So you can take that money and move to Colombia, you can move to Thailand, you can move to Mexico, you can move to the Philippines, you can move to all these different places. And of course, it's going to go a lot further.
Yeah. There's, I mean, dude, obviously I agree with everything you're saying. I fucking live in Mexico. There's some issues I feel like that come with it, especially in Mexico. There's been like this pushback against foreigners doing that, especially in
Mhm.
Mexico City, because I think a lot of
Yeah,
people do it poorly. Like they make no effort to learn Spanish. They just stay in these little enclaves and the
right.
prices of everything go up. But we could talk about all that stuff in a second. I'm sure people are curious about those things, but I'm more curious about how you went from because you were in the army for what you say 10 years, got medically
Yep.
retired, and then you just decided to
Mhm.
become a teacher. So did you
Yep. Well,
did you join the army straight out of high school or like what was that like?
no, I went to community college first
You did.
and
Okay.
I failed out. So I was way more interested in alcohol and girls when I was like 19 than like going
Sounds
to
about right.
class, which I think is kind of normal for dudes. I always tell people like I failed out of community college and then I went to Harvard when I got out of the military because of the skills and the knowledge and discipline that
Because
the
you were an
military
adult.
instilled in me. Yeah,
Yeah.
so like if you're a young person, the military can be the greatest social tool to advance like, your benefits, to buy a house, to go to college, to do all those types of things. Yeah, so my story, you know, um, grew up in Iowa, failed out community college, joined the military, and then the military is this kind of like adventure. And I wanted to keep the adventure going in my life. I think a lot of us kind of fall into these routines. And to me, the scariest thing was to be born in my small Iowa town, to grow up there, to go to school there, to work there, to die there, without ever seeing the world or experiencing adventure or doing any Viking or pirate shit or whatever else like that.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, I'm sorry.
Did I cut
I
out
thought
for
it
a
was
second?
lagging. No, 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 no. We're good. I got you. So, how did you end up getting med retired, and what was that experience like for you? Because I've talked to a lot of guys who feel like they almost got pushed out of the military before they otherwise would have because of that. So, was that
Yeah,
like a smooth
it's definitely
transition for you, or what was that like?
I was planning on doing the whole 20 years in the military because I really enjoyed it. And, I felt like I had a place and a mission in the world and I understood the military. And when you get out on like a medical retirement, it can be kind of a shock because you have to figure out a second plan. And like I said, my original second plan was to become a teacher. That didn't work. And then I started writing, and that kind of enabled a different world for me because it gave me purpose to help veterans. The first book that I wrote was for student veterans. So because it's difficult to transition from the military into higher education. And that kind of got me into veteran advocacy and writing. And that's how I started my blog and all that. And now I kind of transitioned into different things. And now I write about veterans moving and living abroad. And we have an organization here for veterans moving and living abroad. And I kind of talk about something you said earlier about like pushback from the community. One of the cool things about being an expat is it gives you the ability to give back because your money goes a lot further. So, like here right now, we are doing a toy drive for two different orphanages for Christmas. So, like we have like some veteran-owned businesses here, a veteran health center. So, we are going to give toys to all the orphan kids here in Colombia on Christmas. So, when you do small things like that to give back, which isn't a big deal for every veteran to toss in $100 to buy some toys for the kids. Like, it's I went to the mall, got a bunch of toys. So when you do things like that, I think it kind of lets the community and people know that you're here for the right reasons because there are people that go abroad and it's kind of a take situation when
Yeah,
it's pretty easy to give a little bit. Or like you mentioned, just be a good person to your employees, to the community, to, when you go out to eat, whatever else, learn the language. And a lot of people don't want to move to places like Mexico or here to Colombia because they don't speak Spanish. And that's totally understandable. When I first moved abroad, I spoke zero Spanish. And then as time goes on, you pick it up, you put some effort into it. And a lot of people think they have to be fluent, totally fluent, or zero. And of course, there's a big middle ground of stuff where you can learn the language to a certain point, and then like people are happy with that.
for sure. And I think that's actually one of the coolest parts of Spanish speaking countries specifically. In my experience, I know there's a broad generalization. I've never met someone who spoke Spanish that wasn't fucking stoked that you were trying to speak Spanish with them. As
Right.
compared to like, dude,
Absolutely.
in Europe, like I feel like I've never received more hatred than from a French person when they found out that I did not speak French. I was like,
Right.
I'm fucking sorry, dude. I'm doing my best. This is a
Yeah. Sorry.
Starbucks in an airport. Like, this is
Yeah.
not my fault, dude.
And like, and when I lived in Thailand, I tell people that move to Thailand or Vietnam or Asia, nobody actually expects you to learn the language there because it's
Right,
so difficult. It's so
right.
foreign. So you can move to a place like Thailand and expect whatever, like because you're not going to learn it unless you really commit to it. And Spanish is useful because obviously there's 20 some Spanish speaking countries. Whereas if you learn like Thai, then that's only useful in
Nowhere
Thailand.
else.
But that's what does lead a lot of American expats to places like the Philippines, to places like Jamaica, to places, high expat areas because you don't necessarily have to learn the language because people in the Philippines speak English.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like well, you're definitely right that you don't have to learn it before you go. Like that's the best way to learn a language is just go
Yeah.
immerse yourself in it. And I guess, yeah, what I was trying to say before about people having this pushback, it goes so much further than just learning the language. Like what you just described about the toy drive for the kids, like that's awesome, dude. Just stuff
Mhm.
like that that shows the community that you actually give a shit about them and you're not just there to
Yeah.
like eat their food and take advantage of all the cheap stuff, but that like you actually care about helping people. That's what it's about,
Yeah.
man. Like we've got all of the furniture in our house is all like custom made by like local
Hmm.
craftsmen. Like you could go to fucking IKEA and get it, or you could pay someone here like a few $100, which is a very meaningful chunk of change to them. And now I have sick fucking custom made furniture. And
Right.
little things like that, man, make such a difference. And we're actually friends with like all the locals. The fucking indigenous
Yeah.
guy who runs our Temescal ceremonies, like he's my buddy. It's so I guess speaking the language unlocks certain things like that where you can actually become friends with people, but it's the intention
Mhm.
behind it that actually makes a difference.
There is a right and a wrong way to become an expat. Like when you move
Mm,
abroad, there are wrong ways to do it. There are people that, both for yourself and for local community. Like, I talked to a lot of veterans. One of the biggest dangers that people have moving abroad is isolation because you can move abroad and you're isolated. So you might find yourself alone a lot. You're going to find yourself alone a lot, especially initially. And that's one reason why we created our organization, Veterans in Paradise, to provide a level of community for veterans. And we have events, we have get togethers. We provide veterans with information and resources to kind of smooth their transition. And the second thing is it's easy to dive into unhealthy behaviors. Because
Mm.
if I'm here in Colombia, no one's going to stop me for drinking a beer at 9 in the morning. Like I can go to the bar and start drinking. And whereas in America, someone's going to be like, bro, are you okay? You
Yeah,
have
that's
kind
a
of
good
more
point.
built-in protective factors and social factors and stuff like that. So it's easy to kind of be the worst elements of yourself in a place in another country because you can get yourself into addictive behaviors, you can get yourself in unhealthy behaviors, you can dive in unhealthy relationships. So that's one reason why we started the organization is to provide veterans kind of a measure of community and support and friendship.
And I'm sure the beer is the one of the more benign things that you could get access to in Colombia, allegedly. You know, if you had
Yeah.
if you had other desires, I'm sure it's almost too easy to come by in certain places.
Yeah,
Um,
if you struggle with addiction, moving abroad can be a good thing and a really bad thing because the change in environment can change everything. But if you come here to Colombia, you can do cocaine for pennies, pennies on the dollar. So it's something that don't come to
yeah.
Colombia if you have a cocaine problem.
What you're saying about the isolation, that's actually really interesting to me. It's something I never even thought about because I moved to Mexico with my wife. So like I had
Right.
fucking built-in partner right there, and now we have our family. And dude, I don't go anywhere. I'm a fucking antisocial person to begin with. But I could definitely see that
Yeah,
if
and
you're in a new
sometimes
place, go ahead.
you don't speak the language, it's going to be hard to go out to meet people. But I have a roommate, so a lot of people, it's funny because a lot of people are like, "Oh, two grown men living together, like that's weird," or "I could never
Yeah.
do that," or "That's gay," or whatever. Be like, I live in a 3 bedroom, 4 bathroom penthouse in Medellin, Colombia. I have a beautiful skyline. I've got a big hot tub. I got like 4 TVs in the house. Like, if you have a roommate, you also have a built-in battle buddy to help you with support, to talk to kind of hold you accountable and someone to look out for you and things like that too. So that's important. So I tell people like, you know, a roommate abroad is not that bad of a thing because it doubles what you can afford and it gives you a friend, someone to lean on. And I think that's something that more people should look into when they move abroad, especially if you're moving abroad as a single person.
Yeah, man, totally. When we first came here, we actually stayed in Puerto Vallarta for a few months while they finished building our
Mhm.
house. And that turned into a whole shit show because the construction was like 9 months delayed, but they would tell us in 3 month increments. So like we flew from
Yeah.
PV to Tulum the day before we were supposed to take like accept our house. The like right after I checked into the flight, we get an email like, "Hey, we want to let you know it's actually going to be 3 months delayed." I'm like, fuck me. And then 2.5 months go by, and it's like, "Hey, it's going to be another 3 months delayed." We wasted so much money on like short term rentals because of that, instead of just like
Yeah.
just finding one spot to live. But
I
where
usually
I was
tell
going with that,
people, I don't know
sorry.
what you feel
Yeah.
about people renting versus buying overseas.
I probably wouldn't recommend buying stuff, especially not right away. Like if you don't know that you love a place and that you're going to stay here forever. I personally wouldn't have bought here, but the whole reason we even came here is my wife, she used to travel to Tulum a lot. She traveled all through South America a ton when she was younger. She came to Tulum all the time. She had some friends who were in real estate and like realtors and developers and stuff. And so she bought this place with her mom in pre-sale in order to be like an
Um,
Airbnb, to be like an investment property. And then we got married and she was living with me and my parents in New Jersey. And for some reason, she didn't want to do that for the rest of her life. So we needed our own place to stay and just decided to come here since we already owned the place, or she already owned the place, really. So that's the only reason that we even came here and that we own it here. But when we went to PV at first, we stayed in this Airbnb that was like, I don't know, maybe like 6 different apartments, and it was like all expats in and out of there. And that was so much
okay.
fun because that was before we had kids too. So it was like, just
Right.
like you said,
Kids
like,
change things.
yeah, kids change things very much. But it was like built-in friends. Everybody's fucking cool, like an interesting person because they're all
Yeah.
traveling. And you got instant people to go to the gym with, or to go on a run with, or to go out to the bars with, or to go eat lunch with. So yeah, it's having that community is definitely important. Because that's probably actually fucking awesome what you guys do. So like a veteran who wants to do this, they don't have to figure anything really out for themselves. They just kind of go in. Like, how does
Yep.
that actually work? How does your community work? Is it just a website? Is there like a Facebook group? Like, how do you engage with
So we
people?
we Kind of both. So me through like social media a lot, like Instagram and TikTok. So like if we had a Veterans Day event, for example. So we set up a bar crawl to there's 3 veteran-owned bars here. So we did a bar crawl to all the different bars, and then at every bar we had someone give like a speech, and we also had resources for veterans who are interested in getting their visas, interested in buying a property, interested in healthcare. So we kind of like make those resources available for people. And then a lot of it's kind of about friendship and stuff like that. Like, oh, this guy's a real big gym guy. So, hey, if you're interested in working out, like, go talk to him. So it's kind of like introducing people and putting people all in the same room and giving them the opportunity to kind of network. So it's kind of like informal networking, is kind of the main thing behind it. But then we do like a monthly newsletter. So you can sign up for that, like veteransinparadise.com. And then we send out the events, the charity stuff, and all that through that. But it's like super informal because a lot of veterans they don't want to be in some like rigid structure or like that's why people don't like going to the VFWs or American Legion or like saluting each other or doing that type of
Yeah.
thing because you're not in the military anymore. So what we wanted to do was just provide opportunities for veterans, and that's kind of it. Like what you do with it or what you don't do with it is on you.
That's so funny what you're saying of like you want to break away from that like structure and the formality because so we run this veteran and first responder jujitsu retreat and we had somebody come last year who like dude he got discharged from the army maybe like 3 months or so or 6 months before the retreat or something like that. And so we show everyone to their rooms and I'm making the rounds just making sure everybody's good on the first night like hey do you need anything is the water
Right.
working in your room etc. And this one dude, he's like, "Hey, what time is lights out?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna like shut the lights off." I was like, "Dude, what? Like, what are you talking about right now, bro? Like, no,
You can
man,
keep
you're
your
on
lights on all night.
vacation. Like, do whatever you want, buddy. You're free here, man."
Yeah.
It was just like me as a civilian. I was like, "Dude, what are you even saying right now,
Yeah.
man?" It was so
Well, that's
funny to
why
see that
it's
in real
hard to
time because I was
transition
still
back
in
into
his brain.
society.
Yeah,
It's hard to get
yeah.
out of the military. Like the military is an all-encompassing thing. It's hard to get out. So, I tell veterans like for a lot of people, it's easier to transition abroad than transition back into your hometown.
I could definitely see that, man. It's like fucking fresh start, new beginnings. That is an
Yeah.
interesting thing too. Not necessarily I've seen it so much in my experience, but just in general, like you go out in life and have these experiences going into the military or moving abroad. And then when you go back to your hometown, like everybody there knew the old you before you had all
Yep.
those experiences. So it's like they know a version of a dude who doesn't exist anymore. And then they, in
100%.
a worst case scenario, they try to like fucking pigeonhole you back into that and like put you back
Yep.
into those old ways of being that you don't want to be anymore.
Yeah, and growth is about change. And, you can't ever stay the same person. And a lot of people, if you stay in the same place, it's easy to stay the same person and not experience any personal growth or development or whatever. That's the whole thing of the military. It's like a big adventure. It changes you. No one getting out of the military is the same person that went into the military, like you mentioned. So, and a lot of people they desperately need a fresh start. I think that's what moving abroad kind of at its core is. It's a fresh start to be the person you always knew that you could be. But maybe your environment didn't allow you to be that person because you can't grow or thrive in toxicity. And kind of like we talked earlier about the political stuff, like if you're so trapped in this environment of stress and bills and work until you die, it's hard to see any other way of being. And then you get abroad, and the most valuable thing to me is always like my time. And abroad, I do what I want with my days. I have a good balance between work, leisure, and recreation to where I'm able to control my day, control my schedule, do the things that I'm passionate about, and do my hobbies and scuba dive and, all these different stuff that you just don't really have the time or energy or, money to do in the United States.
I think you're hitting on something else here that the average American I don't think can appreciate because America's like the land of the free, right? Like it's the most free
Yeah.
place on earth. I think you're actually a lot more free in a lot of ways when you move someplace
Yep.
else. And that my dad, when I said this to him, like his brain could not compute. And like, I love you, dad. I get it. Like, I understand. But man, like you can just in Mexico, you can do whatever the fuck you want, man. Like as long as you're not
Yeah.
like harming other people, eh, people leave you alone, dude. Like our
Yeah.
daughter, man, she's like never been to the doctor. She's maybe I shouldn't say this
Yeah.
publicly. She's like unvaccinated. She's fucking perfectly fine in America,
Yeah.
like she
Well,
couldn't go to
most kids
preschool
are.
because of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, not we're also homeschooling her and nobody gives a shit, right? So like it's just the freedom of like personal choice, especially when you have a family and just like this is what I want my daughter exposed
Mhm.
to, this is what I want our family
Right.
doing, this is what I want us eating, where we go, how we spend our time, what she sees. Like you have so much more freedom over all that kind of stuff here. And again, I don't think you can appreciate that until you've actually experienced living someplace else.
Yeah, and one thing Americans are not good at is minding our own business. Like we cannot mind our own business. We're in other people's shit and other countries' shit all the time. And when you move abroad,
Yeah,
you
that's
really
true.
can't just mind your own business. You
Yeah.
just like it's not my problem. And the freedom thing I think that you touched on is interesting. I definitely feel freer outside the United States than inside the United States because you could be free to have guns, to do whatever you want in America to a certain extent, but you can never be free of the bullshit. Where here I could be free of the bullshit.
Yep. Honestly, that is the one biggest thing that I miss about New Jersey is like my Glock is in my safe under my bed and like never gonna
Yeah,
see it really.
that's one thing I tell veterans is that nowhere else in the world is like the good old United States of America when it comes to like gun ownership and stuff like that. And that does stop a lot of people from moving abroad. But
Yeah,
one of the things, how I talk about violence abroad compared to the United States is one of the scary things, one of the chaotic things about violence in the United States is the randomness of it. Because
hmm,
anything can happen at anywhere. I mean, I saw the news last week. There's like a shooting at a kid's birthday party in
yep,
California. Like could be you can get stabbed by a homeless person on a train. Like there can be a school shooting, whereas things like that don't happen outside the United States as much. So violence is more targeted, makes more sense. Like a lot of people are scared about Mexico. Like, why are you selling drugs or involved in the drug trade or like fighting with the cartels or
exactly.
like doing anything like that? If you're just minding your own business, nobody's gonna mess with you. Um, so that's kind of the best way that I can describe violence outside the United States because people are like, oh, Colombia is a dangerous. Like, no, because I'm not doing
Yeah, man.
things that I wouldn't normally do.
I never thought of it in those terms, but you're completely right. Like I've never felt unsafe in Mexico because I've never tried to sell drugs or get into politics. Like those are probably the two most dangerous things you could try to do. You can buy all the drugs that you want. It's
Yeah,
just the selling of them on somebody else's turf that gets you in trouble. Not that I buy
yeah,
drugs, obviously. I'm a good citizen. Um, yeah, it's funny. We were at this like Christmas parade the other day because they like lit up the town square with all the lights and everything. They had this big parade, and then later on, the mayor was like giving a speech, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to be like here right now. Actually, just like this big public thing with like the mayor, because like I don't know, political assassinations
yeah.
are a thing. So I was like, that was the only time I ever actually felt sketched out because I was like, I'm near somebody who actually could get assassinated because that's honestly
Right.
that is a thing. But yeah, you're right, dude. I've never felt more unsafe anywhere than I did taking the fucking subway in Chicago during COVID. And that's
Yeah.
like been my metric of like everywhere I've ever gone in Mexico has felt 100 times safer than taking the subway in Chicago. Because you're right,
Mhm.
it's just the fucking randomness of it all. And that's not a
And there
thing
are
really in
safety
other places.
precautions. There are safety precautions to take abroad, just like there are anywhere in the world.
Of course. Yeah.
But for the most part, safety is a concern for me in the United States and not outside the United States.
Even like, because you're saying before, like going out last night, drinking and stuff. I've really never gotten drunk here in Mexico. I don't really drink at all, honestly. But I feel like that could get sketchy, just especially if you're like alone at night, like don't know people around
Yeah.
you. But that's probably just good
Like
advice
last
in
night we
general.
went out, there was five veterans. So we all went out together. We went to a bar, went to a nightclub, five guys, we're all having a good time, looking out for one another, like making sure we get home, make sure nobody gets too drunk, which of course nobody always
Yeah,
gets too
okay.
drunk. But and that's one of the things with kind of our group and friends and stuff like that is you look out for each other. It's good to have people look out for you because you do need to be like uh self-reliant abroad. You do have to be like hyper
Yeah.
self-reliant. You got to rely on yourself. You can't really like there's nobody for me to call to save me. Like my mom can't come and help me or anything like that. So you do have to be like very independent when you move abroad. That's one thing that how's the homeschooling thing been going for your daughter?
I mean, she's only 2, right? So it's not like real legit homeschooling yet.
Right,
She's
yeah, but
smart as fuck though. She can count to 16 in Spanish. Uh,
yeah.
I
Oh, so
which is pretty legit. Um, so yeah, we haven't done anything structured at all yet, but we've got like instruments we expose her to. We've got some books to start working on handwriting. She she's speaking English, German, and Spanish because my wife is Austrian. So she's
Okay.
learning three languages. She's got three passports. Like, she's a pretty fucking cool little baby. So
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's awesome. I I I can appreciate though, like we're in a unique position because my wife and I work together and we run our own business. So we make our own hours and we're home all day. I don't know how people go to an office, bro. Like on my longest days of work, like our nanny is here for like 7 hours and I'm like upstairs on calls all day and my daughter's downstairs and like I hear her laughing and having a good time. And like it breaks my heart because I just want to go down and hang out with her. But then I know
Yeah.
if I got 10 minutes between a call, if I go downstairs, she's gonna cry when I go back upstairs. So I just like stay up here. So like if I had to go someplace else all day, dude, I don't know how people do that, man. Like,
Well, a lot of, and that's one thing that kind of surprised me when I started talking about moving abroad was I was surprised at how many families were talking about moving abroad because a lot of families in the United States don't spend time together, except if you're like driving to kids to
yep.
practices like that. Abroad you have a more family and community centric culture and lifestyle. I'm sure in Mexico where like you see
Oh
your
yeah,
kids
man.
more. You don't just see them at night or in front of the TV or something. You're more active parent in their lives. And I think that's one thing that why kids struggle so much in the United States with like mental health is because the family culture has kind of like died out. And so that's why like I do talk about stuff like international schools because a lot of people don't know the as families
That's
you
the thing.
get a better quality education with private international care with private international schools than you can in American public education. Like
Yep.
the private schools here in Colombia for like expat American kids are fantastic. And like you mentioned, all the kids are going to learn Spanish,
Yep.
multiple languages. You can be better prepared for life than American public education. Or you can
Yeah,
homeschool your kids
there's
too. Like, and
there's
the
there's
resources for
tons of
that now.
options like that. Even here, there's a few English speaking academies. There's even a German language academy here, which is like a weird
Right.
coincidence. Um, yeah, it's the American educational system's a fucking joke, dude. Like
Yeah.
I don't think that's a contentious topic. Like we're not
No.
actually educating people whatsoever. And there's so many more
No.
people interested in homeschooling for it. I think the freedom element of like, hey, I don't really want my kids learning like all this fucking crazy shit in school that I would never actually
Yeah.
talk to them about. Yeah.
And you control
Um,
where your kids are exposed to a little bit more. Like kids in America now are exposed to like hypersexualized content at a very young age.
yeah.
And that's not necessarily healthiest thing for young minds.
There's this dude named Gabor Mate. I don't know if that name means anything to you. He's an author, psychiatrist, written a ton of stuff, pretty into like plant medicine work also. But one of his books is called "Hold On to Your Kids," and it kind of talks about that you're as a child, their primary attachment should be to their parents, right? Like that should
Right.
be the strongest bond that they have. But just like you said, in America and Canada and other places, a lot of times parents just don't spend that much time with their children. So they end up getting stronger attachments to their peers in school than they
Right.
do to an adult. And that's like dude, that's like the blind leading the blind, you know? Like a kid should
Yeah.
not be having another kid as a role model. A kid needs
Right.
structure and support and discipline and guidance from an actual parent. So I think that is definitely a difference here as well. Almost like in Thailand, like you were saying, the kids getting smacked if they misbehave in
Yeah.
class, where there's like action. I'm not promoting child abuse to be clear here, but the occasional smack, dude, I don't know, man. It might go a long way. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's
Well, the funny thing was, so when I was like talking to the teacher who was like she smacked the kid's hand with a ruler. I was like, "You're gonna be careful. You're gonna leave a mark." And she's like, "I'm trying to leave a mark so the parents see
they
it, because then
remember.
they're gonna get their ass
Oh
beat when they get
shit.
home too."
Dang, dude, that's fucking
I was like, "Oh
cold.
shit, okay." Like, yeah. So I was like, "You're gonna leave a mark." And she goes, "I'm trying to leave a mark because the parents will see it." That's basically like a note home. Like your
Yeah,
kids
yeah, that's
fucking
what I was gonna
up.
say. That's like a note home, but then the kid can just plagiarize the parent's signature and be like, "Yeah, I showed this to them," right? Or like forge
Yeah,
the
like
parent's
no, they
signature.
got the mark, and then
That's
so
gangster.
then when the kid gets home, they're gonna get their ass beat.
Damn, dude, that sucks. Um, fuck, man, that's crazy. So, bro, how did you go into teaching? What, like, was that just something you were interested in? Did it seem like a good career
I was
choice?
inspired by I had a football coach when I was younger who inspired me to become a teacher because of the impact he had on my life. Because I grew up without a father, and I
Hmm.
got arrested a few times in my youth and got in some trouble, and then he kind of like talked to me and straightened me out and did all that stuff. So I wanted to kind of be that for other people. And what I liked most about the Army when I was in was the training, the instruction, the helping people understand concepts, and kind of the instructor role that I had. So when I got out of the military, I thought I kind of wanted to recreate something like that to kind of like,
Hmm.
I don't think there's a more like noble profession than to be a teacher. I mean, just to kind of like shape young minds to make the world a better place. I think you could have this ripple effect on people, where if you change someone's life and then they change someone's life and that kind of continues on. So
Absolutely.
that was kind of my original goal. And then it just kind of, I think it kind of just phased out and I got into writing. And then so then I've been writing now for like 5 years.
Do you feel like you still scratch that itch, so to speak, with what you do now of being like a mentor to other people and just like it looks a lot different, but it's still probably giving you a lot of those same kinds of things?
Yeah, and for me, helping veterans was kind of like my mission. And my original thing, like I said, was student veterans. That was kind of like, so I used to travel around and go to colleges, and I used to help when I was, used to wear a tie and like go help college professors better instruct student veterans and help student veterans become better students because that first year when you get out of the military is kind of like the most important year because that's going to be your transition. It's going to set you up. And a lot of veterans, your first stop is college. So your success or failure at that critical juncture is going to determine, the course of your future. So I wanted to help veterans kind of nail that first year of school. And then in that role, I went and talked to Congress. I worked on legislation when I was a graduate student of Harvard. And then I became so disenfranchised with the American political system because I got to sit down with Congress people and senators and talk to them and, just get this kind of blank look back. And I realized they didn't give a fuck about anything I was doing or saying. They only
Oh,
cared about getting reelected and getting rich. And that was kind of one of the things I had in my back of my mind when I moved abroad because, kind of became just totally disenfranchised with the system because I was killing myself and just got nowhere dealing with people that just didn't care about me or my community of veterans or whatever. So it was kind of a sad moment for me. And I love America. I'm intensely patriotic. I still get up and say the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, all that stuff. But I can
wait,
love it
hold on.
from
Do you
afar.
really?
Yeah,
You
I
said
can
the
love it
Pledge of
from
Allegiance
afar.
every
I would
morning?
love it from here in Colombia.
I I mean, I'm with you on that, man. I still love America. I think it is. I don't know,
Yeah.
actually. I was about to say I think it is the greatest country on earth. There's some
Yeah, I
hesitation
like
there.
saying
I
that. I
wouldn't
mean,
just,
a lot of people are like, oh, America's not great. And
nah, fuck that.
America's the
America's the
greatest country
best.
in the world because it's the best country to be born poor in. If you're born
Mm,
poor anywhere else in the world, you do not have the same economic or social mobility as you
yeah,
do in
man.
America. You could be
I,
born poor as fuck in America and die rich. If you're born poor as fuck in India or Mexico or wherever else, your opportunities are so much more limited.
it's funny you say that. I've thought about that often. Like, what would I do if I was born here? Like, how would I try
Yeah,
to like get out of this? Or what would I do? I had that first thought
you
when
go
I
to
was in
America
Pucallpa,
and then come
Peru.
back to
Well, yeah,
Mexico.
yeah, probably. If I was in Mexico, for sure. I had that thought when I was in Pucallpa, Peru, which that's where we used to go for our ayahuasca retreats. And dude, it's a rough place. It's like people don't go there except for going to the jungle to do ayahuasca. You fly in there and like you're potentially the only group of white people going in and out of that airport. Like it's not a tourist spot whatsoever. And it's just like a rough, like industrial kind of like dirty, dingy place.
Yeah,
And yeah, we were driving through there, and I was like, bro, what the fuck would I do if I was a kid here?
it
I
is.
came
It
to the
is.
conclusion I would sell bricks because they were just like the brick buildings were like the nicest buildings. So I was like, I would get into selling construction materials, but still, I don't know. It's rough, dude.
It is such a privilege to be born in the United States. You have so many more opportunities. You have, it's just, it's miles ahead of everywhere in the world. I mean, so, and that's when people who live in America and like hate American values. I'm like, you have never traveled because nobody hates America more than Americans who have never traveled anywhere before. Because, I was a teenager in Afghanistan. I was like 20 years old in Afghanistan. So that, when I saw that, I was like, holy shit, especially for like women. Trust me, you want to be born in America, not in Afghanistan.
Oh man. What other kinds of pushback do you get when you talk to people? Because you said you talk to a lot of people who are like on the fence about moving abroad. So there's
Yeah.
like they don't speak the language, the safety thing. What other reasons do people come up with to not do it that you hear?
I think people have a lot of fear of just the unknown. and it is a big unknown. So usually, like in my book, and when I talk about is making sure you do adequate trial run for moving abroad. You don't just sell everything in the world and go to another country and try and figure it out. You could go there for like at least 30 days, live locally, live like you normally do, don't live like you're on vacation, kind of see if it's for you. Because some people might choose the wrong country. You know, like you just move to the wrong place, wrong community, you meet the wrong people, it doesn't work out for you. But there's no saying you can't go back. You know, like a lot of
Right.
people live abroad for a few years, live back in America for a few years, go abroad. Like life is supposed to be an adventure. I think if you're not scared at some point throughout your year, throughout your life, you're not living right. You need to feel a little bit of adrenaline, a little bit of a rush, a little bit of like the excitement of the unknown. I think being stuck in a routine is more spiritually crushing than anything else. And I usually tell people like, obviously you're not gonna know until you try, like really. But a lot of people have that feeling, and that's when I talk to veterans, like I wrote an article, how to know if expat life is for you, which is up on my blog, whatever. So I encourage people like to really think about it, and then also network with other people who are living abroad and see what their experiences are, because it's not for everybody. Like I don't think moving abroad is something everyone should do, or one size fits all for people. Like most families, it's difficult to move abroad as a family. Most people I talk to are like single dudes or single females. Obviously, it's more challenging and a lot more expensive and a lot more considerations if you have a family. So in my book, Veterans in Paradise, I have a section for families to think about if moving abroad is for you, especially if you have kids or adolescents or whatever else. A lot of people I talk to are like waiting for their kids to graduate high school so they can move
Hmm.
abroad, or waiting
Yeah.
until they get their pension figured out so they can move abroad. So I think the financial aspect is probably the most important thing. Like if you're moving abroad, there's really only like two main concerns, and that's finances and healthcare. I mean, that's kind of your main things. And then on top of that, you have visa and bureaucracy issues. But I think if you're going to move abroad, you're going to do it. It's kind of like join the military or something. Like I don't ever encourage or try and like I'm not trying to coach people to move abroad. I don't have business with any of this stuff or whatever. So for me, it's just about if it's for you, I want veterans to know about it. I want to inform them about the resources and how living abroad as a veteran works. So that's why I talk about things like healthcare benefits and things like that.
Real quick, that was something that surprised me the first time that we talked. I thought for sure this was like your whole like industry and business of like the book sales and like ad traffic from the site. I figured you were making a ton of money off of this.
I
And you're
didn't
like,
know how to fucking make money from social media at all. I get messages like on emails and stuff like, "Oh, will you promote this product?" Nope. I sell books, but I also provide them for free. So it's one of
yeah,
those things where
it's
it's
amazing.
like, if you want the physical copy, you have to buy it on Amazon. But I'll provide you my free ebook for veterans moving abroad, which is applicable for anyone pretty much. I just hone in on the military mentality and also some of the specific military benefits that you get moving and living in other countries. But no, there's no business with anything I do. I actually, I have to pay to run my website, which obviously isn't that
Yep.
expensive or
Yep.
anything. But I like writing and I like helping veterans, so it gives me purpose, and that's more valuable than a couple dollars.
Yeah, and that's why I haven't made this interview like, how do you do X, Y, and Z? Because it's like, dude, you'll give everyone all that information for free in a fucking digital book. So just go read that. I just want to talk to you as like a
Yeah,
dude. This is interesting shit.
yeah.
Um, dude, so many other things I want to talk to you about. And yeah, one other thing I guess I didn't even really consider is like some of that legal stuff with the visa requirements and everything. Because we had a reverse anchor baby, meaning like we came here to Mexico and had a had a kid in Mexico. So like we get permanent residency through her. So like she's a
Yeah.
Mexican citizen first. So that was a nice way to sidestep all that. And like I've got a Canadian buddy who's moving to Costa Rica because like his pension that he collects puts him above whatever income requirement that they have to
Yeah.
show to get permanent residency. So
Costa Rica
there's
is like $1,100 or $1,200 a month. So if you prove for your pension or Social Security or military benefits or whatever, if you're making like 1,200 a month, then you qualify for their pension visa. So all you have to do is basically prove that, pass a background check, do some bureaucracy stuff, and they'll give you a visa.
that's pretty sweet.
Every country is different. Like for example, Thailand, you cannot get a retirement visa until you are 50. But
Hmm.
here in Colombia, there's no age limit, so you have veterans who come here at 25 on military benefits, and so there's other options. That's one thing that leads people to places like Peru or the Dominican Republic is you can kind of go there and stay as long as you want. Like Dominican Republic, you can go there and stay as long as you want. That's why so many people live there. Here in Colombia, you get 6 months a year. If you stay beyond 6 months, then you have to do a visa.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mexico, I think, is similar. It's like the tourist visa is like 6 months. And previously,
Hmm.
dude, you could just do a border run. You could like drive to Guatemala and come back, and they would stay with you
Yeah,
for 6 months. They've kind of stopped doing that, like cracked down
yeah,
on it a little bit. Which brings up kind of one other thing that's interesting about Mexico is like you can't really do that unless you got a few $100s that you can slip somebody. And then a lot of problems just kind of go away. Like, dude, we just got our driver's licenses and paid a hefty little sum of money, which is not even that much. And we're picking up the licenses, and our guy that helped us, he's like, "Man, you got a perfect score on the driving test." And he like kind of like winked at me, and I was like, "Yeah, dude, studied super hard for that one." Because like you just pay someone a little bit of money, and a lot of problems just kind of go away.
yeah.
And
Money solves problems, and the problem is the United States. You have to be too rich. You got to be like a
that's what
millionaire
I
to
was gonna
get your
say.
money's. Yeah,
I actually like this. I call it like equal opportunity corruption. Because in
yeah,
America, in order to get out of a speeding ticket, it's like your uncle has to be the sheriff in town, right?
right.
Here, you just gotta have like $50 in your pocket and like
Yeah,
you're good to go. So I think it's a lot more honest actually. And it's not
yeah. It
like
is.
America or Canada are any less corrupt. It's just more out in the open here. So I
Right.
don't know if that's been your experience in Colombia as well. Like I feel like Mexico is like
Yeah,
very
here,
much that way. But
you kind of have that. I mean, pretty much anywhere where you can. Um, I remember getting pulled over in the Dominican Republic when I was driving, and the cops talking to me. He's like, "Ah, I don't want to give you a ticket, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'd like to buy you lunch." Gave him like 1,000 pesos, which is like $20 or something. And he goes,
yeah.
"Oh, thank you so much." Like, and I went about my day, and he went about his day, and I was like, that was, a reasonable interaction, especially because I know cops there don't make a lot of money,
Yep.
so it's one of those things you don't feel bad doing it.
It's weird here too because I think a lot of tourists have this perception like, oh, the cops are gonna fuck with you, like they're gonna extort you and stuff. Like you're also objectively breaking a ton of laws most of the time. Like
Yeah.
cops
Oh, yeah.
will
I mean, bro, if you're playing, like, don't be surprised if you're trying to buy drugs and the cops are like, well, all the drugs and
exactly,
money are
dude.
coming with us. Like, that's
Exactly.
what you're gonna.
People get pulled over with weed in their car. It's like, bro, in America, depending on the state or the time, I guess, like you could end up in jail for the shit that you're doing
Oh
here.
yeah,
And like you just pay $50. Or like you're driving without a helmet. You're driving an ATV without a helmet. That's objectively illegal and actually super dangerous, and they will stop you for that
yeah,
because people die every year because of it.
yeah. And then you're gonna have an option, and they're probably just gonna take all the money. We might take you to an ATM too to get some money.
Well, that's why the pro tip is you never keep all your money in one spot. So it's like you got
Yeah,
some in your wallet, you got some in your pocket. I used to have some in my hat. So it's like you pull out your wallet and it's like, oh, this is all that I have. Meanwhile, I got more
yeah,
cash
yeah. You
stashed in
have
different spots.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Bro, so you're writing. So you have a blog. You wrote the one book, and you told me you're writing another book, but you're like no publisher wants it or something like that, right? So where are you
Yeah,
at
I
with
have
that?
like three books. So, my first book was for student veterans, and then the second book I wrote was a book of veteran affirmations. So that's a pretty cool book because, I think affirmations are a powerful mental health tool, and I wanted to write one for military community using military language and creeds and values and all that.
Hmm.
And then my other book is Veterans in Paradise, which is the Veterans Guide to Moving and Living Abroad. So then on my website, I also have a children's book of affirmations for
Really?
military kids. Yeah, yeah. And it's free
Really?
on my website. You go there, print it out. It has like word searchers. It has positive affirmations that kids can color in and stuff like that. Um, so
Where did you
it's pretty
learn
cool.
about where did you learn about using affirmations? Like how did that become a thing that you were into?
Well, I started using affirmations. Initially, I was texting them to some of the veterans I was coaching. So I used to like student veteran coaching, like help student veterans get through their first year of school. So I developed this coaching program that I did at the school I was going to. And then so like I noticed a lot of veterans have a tendency to lean towards like sarcasm, like humor, negativity. And the conversations we have with ourselves in our mind is what creates our reality. Our thoughts become our lives. So when we're constantly thinking negativity, we're constantly thinking about the worst thing can happen or catastrophizing things or whatever else, then it's going to impact our day to day. But if we wake up in the morning and you say things like, I'm smart, I am capable, I'm going to dominate today, then your day is going to be better. So there's a veteran that was really struggling. And with going to school, with adjusting, with PTSD. And I was just texting him positive affirmations every morning because he was really struggling. So I texted him affirmations in the morning, and he ended up printing them out, like 15 that I did. And he introduced them to his PTSD group that he went to. And the counselor contacted me, and she was like, "These are awesome!" Like, because he was a Marine, So I wrote them with Marine language. Like I had to look up shit
Mhm.
about Marines, and all that. And the PTSD counselor contacted me. She's like, I want to use these. I was like, oh, I'll give you some more. So then then I wrote a book of a year of them. So it's a year of positive affirmations, a kind of like workbook for veterans. And then I developed like a short YouTube channel. So I have some, because a lot of veterans might not want to read or see them. So if you go to like it's called Veteran Affirmations on YouTube. There's some cool videos of me and other veterans speaking positive affirmations for mental
I like
health,
that.
for
I like
PTSD and stuff.
That's definitely cool that it's delivered in different ways because people with fucking TBI and brain fog and shit like asking them to
Yeah,
sit
some
down
people
and
want to
like
listen
read
to
one.
them.
Yeah. I
So,
love that. Affirmations are like a huge part of our program because I think it is
okay.
the most important tool to reprogram your subconscious mind and like
Yeah.
how you
I
talk
mean,
to
there's
yourself and think about yourself.
And there's real science
And
behind it. Like it's developing neural pathways. It's not just kind of like hippie dippy bullshit. Like, if you wake up and you say those to yourself every single day, it's going to be powerful. Especially like you said, veterans on a journey or a spiritual journey or struggling with addiction or, a million and one things. And the reason why I did the veteran affirmations was because they didn't exist. Because you look at, positive affirmations, but I wanted to write them for my community of people using our language and culture and
right.
creeds and values and all that.
Well,
So it's
that's what I was
pretty
gonna
sweet
say is
book.
really cool about it too, is that it's like in language that they resonate with. Because
Yeah.
I think affirmations kind of get a bad rap and people roll their eyes at it because it's like y- the way that I look at it, the way that we teach it in our program, you have to believe that it's true in order for it to have
Mhm.
an effect. So if I said like I affirm that I'm a millionaire and then my bank account is overdrawn, like
Right.
nothing has happened. In fact, I think that's worse because now I'm lying to myself and I have
Right.
evidence that I'm lying. So this is how we teach it. It's like if I said I'm a millionaire, that's not going to do anything. But if I say every day I'm capable of finding new opportunities to earn money or increase my earning
Exactly.
potential, it's like I can't argue with that. Like that little
Right.
devil on my shoulder can't poke a hole in that one. So it actually works. So I love that you're putting it into their language. Like I will not eat crayons today or whatever that Marine needed to hear.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, and I have, so all the affirmations, in the book are different, obviously written,
I like
for
that.
veterans by me. So it's cool.
What else has contributed to like your mental health journey? Because I like how you look at moving abroad as like a step for your overall
Yeah.
well-being. And you said before how like you were just gotten out of the military and you wanted to fight these 12-year-olds who were talking shit to you, so probably not in like the best headspace. So what's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
journey
I
been
mean,
like for
definitely
you?
not. Well, I think as like veterans are untraditional people, so we need non-traditional forms of therapy. So for me, like scuba diving has been a big therapeutic thing because it puts you in a
Hmm.
different world. There's a lot of benefits to it. There's a lot of beauty. You're just down there breathing. And then my ayahuasca experience I did in Peru was a big help for me. So I think for veterans, like exploring non-traditional methods of therapy are always going to be better because what you need might not be able to be prescribed. There's a reason why veterans who
Hmm.
identify as religious struggle less with PTSD, commit suicide less, get divorced less, all that stuff, because you're identifying with a community, with a spirituality, with a higher purpose. So developing the higher purpose is going to be, an important thing. And for me, my purpose kind of ended up being helping veterans. So that kind of helped me a lot in my own journey. So I think that looking outside of the box is always going to be kind of a better solution for veterans and developing your own forms of therapy because
Hmm.
you know sitting in a doctor's office and talking to someone in a white coat isn't going to do much for you, especially because it's passive and veterans are kind of
Yeah.
more active people. So you have to get out there and really take control of your own mental health, take control of your own therapy. And that's why I think like what you do with running retreats is especially valuable because sometimes you have to separate yourself from your environment in order to see it what it is, and you have to be in a healing space. It's hard if you just go once a week for therapy or pop a pill once a day, but if you immerse yourself in a healing environment, that's when real growth, when real healing, real therapy can take place.
Well, and then you got to come back from that and you got to start working on changing your environment because it's like you got a
That's true. Or you
goldfish
just
in a
stay in
dirty
Mexico. You
tank.
say, fuck
Well,
it, just
yeah,
stay in
or
Mexico.
or just move to Mexico. You could do that as well. I love what you said though about like veterans are on like non-traditional types of people, so they're going to need non-traditional types of healing. Like no doctor is going to tell
Yeah,
you like, yeah, John, I think you should get into scuba diving. They'll be like, no, here's
right,
fucking 20 milligrams of Prozac. Have a good day.
right.
What do you
So then,
think?
you have to
Oh, go
develop
ahead.
your own kind of like prescriptions and forms of therapy and things like that. Like for me, hiking became very big. I used to hike in the woods.
Oh
So
yeah.
hiking in the woods was like a really cool thing. And then if you go to other countries like Japan, they actually have like healing trails and
Forest
forest
bathing.
trails and
Yeah.
like the forest bathing stuff. And you
Yeah.
see that in certain European countries as well. But a doctor is not going to prescribe you, hey, walk in the sunshine for 30 minutes a day. But if you walk in the sunshine for 30 minutes a day, that's going to be better than any pill you could possibly take.
I miss hiking so much, man. That's probably my biggest gripe about being here in Mexico. Like here specifically, I hate the fucking beach. I live 20 minutes from the fucking ocean, dude. I miss going on hikes so badly. But I want to hear from you, man. And I don't need like a play by play of your ayahuasca retreat or anything like that. But I'm curious to hear like, what do you think actually happened? So like when you take the scuba diving, like what does that actually give you or what does that do for you? Like what did the ayahuasca retreat actually do for you? Like what is the difference on the other side of going through that healing stuff? Like how do you make sense of like why that helped you?
I think for me, for like the scuba diving, when you go down there, one, there's no, you can't talk. Like, and it kind of
Yeah.
like there's no, you're just down there, you're breathing. That's all you're doing. There's no like, you're
You're
breathing,
not
you're
listening to anything
existing.
else either. There's no fucking
No,
podcast to listen to.
you're
There's nothing.
observing, and also like it has like a kind of a military feel to it, to where you have equipment, you have people
Okay.
you're relying on, you have safety
Yeah.
precautions. Like there's an element of danger and risk to it, of course, because you have to be rely on the people next to you, you have to rely on your equipment, or you will fucking die.
Hmm.
So, and then you're also kind of you're experiencing an entirely different world, and it kind of lets you know that maybe your problems are not the end of the world or that big of a deal. You're down there just kind of like passively observing, you're swimming, you're exercising, you're feeling like just weightless, and you're disconnected from your phone as well, which is important because we never get too far away from our phones. But obviously if you're scuba diving, you're pretty far away. So that's why I think like a digital detox is really helpful for people, like if they do retreats and stuff like that. Like, bro, you have to find a way to kind of like remove yourself from our hyper-connected and social media world. For the ayahuasca, that was probably the most beneficial single thing I've ever done for like PTSD and my struggles with addiction and things like that, because I have been addicted to pills. I have been addicted to like pain. I tattooed my entire body. I've been addicted to
Yeah.
thrills, been addicted to some negative stuff. So for me, I wanted ayahuasca to give me a better relationship with like alcohol and drugs, because when I first got out of the military, they prescribed me a lot of pills, and I also had a lot of back problems from getting blown up in Afghanistan. So I was on pain pills and muscle relaxers. So the ayahuasca, it helped me in ways that are kind of difficult to understand until you go through it. It's kind of difficult to articulate. But
Yeah.
for me, I had an overwhelmingly positive experience. Like but I know not everyone has those overwhelmingly positive experiences. But like you mentioned, you have to do the prep work, and then you have to do the post work and stuff like that, which is an important element of it. And I'm sure, I mean, you know a lot more of it than me. I only did ayahuasca once. I went, I had a good experience. It helped me. And that's kind of what I
Mhm.
tell people. It's like, it's definitely worth looking into. Like, I don't know if it's for you, but I know it's definitely worth looking into.
I definitely agree with that. It's definitely not for everybody, but that's a cool answer, especially regarding the scuba diving. I love that. I've only gone one time. You're making me really want to go scuba diving more. My wife wants to do this like vision boarding thing for 2026. I'm gonna put fucking scuba diving on there now.
Yeah, I'll come to Tulum,
Um,
man. I'll come to Tulum and hang out.
hell yeah, dude. There is
I
good
don't have any
diving here in
plans
the
next
cenotes
year.
and stuff. Um, the reason I'm asking like what you think it did for you, I think a lot of people kind of have one idea about what's wrong with them or what they need or like what their problems are. And a lot of times that's actually very surface level kind of stuff. So I'm kind of curious for you, like what else maybe came out of it as you got into that healing work, or even now as you're continuing it with living abroad and everything. And you kind of glossed over getting blown up in Afghanistan. I'm sure that caused some issues. Like we've got one buddy, Toby, who similar kind of thing. He was like maybe 5 meters away, 10 meters away when his dog handler stepped on an ID, and like lots of issues obviously that stemmed from that, and that caused his med retirement, caused his like decades of PTSD. He came on this retreat with us to Peru, and on night one basically resolved almost everything related to his military experiences.
Yeah,
And then the subsequent nights he got into like his abandonment issues as a kid and like being sexually abused as a kid and stuff like that.
yeah.
And like
One
you
thing that,
mentioned, go ahead.
one of the side effects from ayahuasca for me was afterwards, my emotions were way more open. Like
Yeah.
you become a way more like, I think we have a tendency to like push everything down and bottle everything up. And I remember like after my ayahuasca experience, I was watching the movie and I'm just like crying my eyes out. I'm like, what are you doing?
What the fuck
Like
is
watching
wrong
a
with
sad
me?
movie, I'm like bawling my eyes, like, oh my gosh, it's so
Yeah,
sad. So, it does put you more in tune with your emotions and nature and all that stuff. I think that, all the pills that we take in our society tend to suppress us and
numbs you.
nature opens you up.
Totally. That's kind of how we look at addiction, like in the context of our program. I'm curious your thoughts as someone who experienced this directly. Like, I don't think that most people have a drinking problem or a pill problem. I think you have a substance solution to a pain, like an actual, like metaphysical pain that you have, or to a self-worth problem, or to a meaning
Mhm.
problem, or something like that. And that's why just quitting alcohol usually doesn't work because like you're not
Yeah,
fixing anything. Now you're taking away the crutch that you had, which might
right.
get replaced with something else, or now you're just like struggling daily to not drink. So do you I mean, well, you were telling me before that you drank, like you still drink now, so clearly you
Yeah.
don't have a problem with it now. You can engage with it recreationally, right? And I is that have you ever thought of it that way? Because in my mind, it's
I
like
think
you now have better solutions to those problems, so you don't need the alcohol anymore. That's why it's
right.
not like a drinking problem anymore. Does that make sense with like your
Yeah, I
worldview
think
on it?
addiction is different for everyone. I think the military kind of gives you a pathway into addiction, and that's why so
For
many
sure.
veterans struggle with addiction because you get out, you feel lost in the world, and obviously we live in a society that prescribes a lot of stuff, and you also are dealing with, loss of culture, loss of identity, loss of a lot of things. So the military is, getting out of the military can be a pathway straight into addiction because we're looking to fill something that can never be filled because the military is kind of all encompassing thing. When you get out of the military, it's hard to find something to fill that gap. So a lot of veterans will turn to prescriptions, will turn to
Mhm.
alcohol, turn to drugs and stuff like that. I think addiction is different for everybody. Like, it's hard to really like I'm someone, like my father was real bad alcoholic, my grandfather's real bad alcoholic, like but there's significant addiction in my family. That's one reason why, for me, like I have to create rules around alcohol. Like I have to create rules around it. Like, oh, I'm only gonna drink on Saturday this week. That's the only night I'm gonna drink.
Right.
Like and I have to create guardrails too, because if I don't, I might go off the deep end. So I think that kind of for me it's still something that I wouldn't say I like struggle with, but I struggle with. Like it's something that it takes effort on my part, especially when I'm living here in Colombia. Nobody's really like checking up on me, but that's one reason why like having a good community is important. And the military culture is like so surrounded with drinking and that shit
That's what I was
anyway.
gonna
That
say.
like
Yeah.
military culture, everybody drinks all the time.
Yeah. As far as creating a pathway to addiction, 100%, because it gives you the like coping mechanism while you're in, and then it gives you all the
Yeah,
pain once you're out. And it's like, well, I know
yeah,
exactly how to deal with this. I just fucking
yeah,
start drinking. And they give you all the pills. So that's interesting actually, that it's not like, yeah, it's not a struggle for you, but you know that you need those guardrails in place, or else like
yeah.
it could creep back in and it could start
Right.
going down a dark path for
But
you.
that's why I think like retreats are valuable if you want to get a better handle on your addictions or if you want to stop drinking or stop doing whatever you're doing. Like I think retreats are like the most valuable thing. One of the problems is obviously it's difficult to afford, some of the retreats and stuff, but a lot of people will spend thousands of dollars on going to Mexico to get drunk and have a good time, but they won't spend the money to go to like a nice resort or retreat type environment. So I tell people like, bro, you are the best investment you could make. If you invest money into your health, if you invest money into, it's going to be a better use of a couple $1,000s than anything else you could do.
Definitely. It's interesting when you start looking at your health and your wellness and your skills as an investment. We just had somebody enroll in like our online program, and he asked his boss permission because he's like an active duty firefighter. And so he was like, if I'm gonna start microdosing, like I want my chain of command to actually know in case something happens. And he went to his chief and he was like, I've wasted more money on dumb shit for like maintaining stupid, worthless pieces of equipment. He's like, you are my most
Right.
valuable piece of equipment that I have in on my team. So whatever you need to do to operate at the highest level possible, like I am all for that. And I thought that was such a cool way to look at it, especially from
That's
like
a cool
his
way to look at
actual
it.
leadership.
Yeah.
Um, dude, one other thing, I'm gonna take a fucking hard left turn here. But you said something in passing before that I kind of wanted to go back to. You said when you were in Thailand, you started like exploring Buddhism and like that kind of
Mhm.
flavor of spirituality, which like what a fucking dope place to do it with all the temples and like the ancient
Yeah.
history and everything. Where did that leave you? Like what is your current like spiritual faith? What are your beliefs? Like, is that a big part of your life right now, or is that just kind of like a cool little cultural immersion thing for you?
Well, one of the things I like about being, in the Latin world, I'm not really sure how it is in Mexico, but like here, God is a part of everyday life. Like if you ask someone how they're doing, they're like, bien, gracias a Dios, like good, thanks to
Yep.
God. So God is
Yep.
kind of a more part of people's day-to-day culture, opposed to the United States, where we've kind of taken spirituality and God out of the equation. So when I was in Thailand, I started reading books about Buddhism because I was there and I got really into like the Buddhism culture. I went and did meditation classes, and that was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my entire life was just like sit there and be like quiet. Like even like 10 minutes, I was like, holy shit. Like I'm so fucked up. I can't even sit here for 10 minutes. Like it's just
Yep.
like without my mind going crazy. And so the meditation really opened me up to like different levels of spiritualism. And then I got into smaller things like fasting, like just fast for like 48 hours and you kind of like feel more spiritual. And that's why it's in so many different religions. And I think everyone kind of has to develop their own form of religion. Like when I'm paragliding here in Colombia or when I'm 80 feet underwater or whatever, that's when I feel close to God. That's when I feel close to spirituality. That's when I feel like, um, closer to whatever is out there. Like same with like ayahuasca. When I did that, I kind of felt more in tune with the universe. I think for me, like nature has always kind of been a big thing. Um, Removing myself from nature, which I did when I got out of the military, was like the worst thing I ever did to myself. And a lot of
Mm.
people, Americans spend 90% of our time indoors. Here in Colombia, like I'm outside all the time. Like my life is outside. I know in Mexico it's kind of like the same thing. Some of that's like weather. Like obviously New Jersey, you're not going to be outside all the time. But being more connected with nature has been such a big mental health boost for me, and taking the time to like purposely put myself in nature and do hikes and go be barefoot outside and swim in the ocean. That has done more for like my mental and spiritual health than anything else. As far as my own journey, I'm still kind of exploring stuff. I plan on going back to Asia next year. So I'm gonna go back and do some like meditation classes, which helped me a lot.
I mean, the overall thing I'm hearing from you is like, you know what makes you feel connected to something beyond yourself, and
Hmm.
you actively make that a part of your day. Like,
Yeah,
that was one of the biggest things for me before I went and did ayahuasca. I was like, dude, I know that I feel better when I'm training jujitsu and I'm not training.
yeah,
I know that I
yeah.
feel good when I'm going on hikes and I'm not hiking. I know that I feel
Right.
good when I'm writing in a journal and I'm not doing it. It's like, why am I not doing any of these things that I know are objectively good for me? So you've
Sometimes that's why Sometimes I always tell veterans why coaching is more beneficial than therapy because some people need to be told what to do. So if I was like, hey, David, today I need you to train jujitsu for 30 minutes, I need you to hike for 30 minutes, I need you to journal for 30 minutes. You're gonna do those three things today. I already know your day's gonna be better.
hmm
Like and you're accountable to someone who's coaching you. And there's a lot of difference. A lot of people don't understand differences between coaching and therapy. Whereas like coaching is a more outcome based thing and a more goal oriented thing, where therapy is a more like passive sitting back, like just, oh, I'm gonna reflect on shit for a while. When I
yeah,
realized that wasn't really helpful for me. So then I took that and I started doing my like coaching for student veterans, and I started telling student veterans like what the fuck to do. Like just do this. Like, and I know your day's gonna be better. So that's why I think like your program and that can be more beneficial for people because it's a more active thing. You have to take control of
yeah.
shit. You gotta take control of shit. If you don't take control of shit, then you're gonna, it's gonna
You're
get out of
you're
control.
you're spot on with like the active versus passive thing. Like, met so many people who've been in therapy for a decade and they've talked in circles about their problems, and they can tell you everything that's wrong with them and why, but they still have the same problems, which can almost
Right.
make them feel more fucked up, because it's like, well, I can explain to you why I'm fucked up, but I can't do anything about it, so I must be
Yeah.
really fucked up. So yeah,
Yeah.
it is
It's a
like
business.
taking, well, it is a business, 100%. Yeah, what we do is not very sustainable. It's like, come work with us for 6 months and then you're fine.
Yeah. That's not the best business model. It's like curing cancer. There's no money in it.
Yeah, dude. All right, man. So what else is on the horizon for you? You got this other book that you're working on, getting published, getting out
Hmm.
there. What other things are
Yep.
you working on, or like what other things do you want to do? Like what do you feel like the future has in store?
Next year, I'm kind of excited because next year, like I So I don't have any possessions. I just have like some t-shirts and my suitcase and a backpack and my laptop. So next year I'm planning on traveling a lot more, which I'm looking forward to. So I'm planning on hitting up like new countries, continuing to write. Like my goal is to write a life-changing book for veterans. So in order to do that, I feel like I have to go out, live the life first, and have the experiences and all that stuff. So I want to continue to help veterans, veteran community continue to put information out, continue to live an adventure. But for me, I don't have like a grand design or plan or anything like that. There's no strategy to what the fuck I'm doing. Just living.
I mean, I
I
kind
want
of
to have
love that.
fun.
You're like,
Like I
you,
want to have fun. I want to have
well,
fun.
yeah. If
That's
you're
kind
like,
of like
hey,
I want
if
to have a good time. I want at the end of my life, I want to be able to look back and be like, that was a wild ride. I want to have experiences. I want to have stories. I want to embrace the beauty of the world. And make a difference. I think a lot of people, I want to make a positive difference in the world. And a lot of people they think too big. I think very small and making a difference. Like I know for this Christmas we are giving like 200 some toys to these 80 kids in orphanages here in Medellin. We have their names, we have their shoe sizes, we have all information. So like if I
hmm,
can do that, then I know I'm making the world a slightly better place. I used to really struggle with like trying to like make a big difference in the world, and my grandmother gave me some really good advice. She said, John, don't try and change the world. Just do three things every single day. One good thing for yourself, one good thing for someone you love, and one good thing for a stranger. Just do those every single day and you'll make the world a better place. So I started thinking
that's
a lot
awesome.
smaller about, my impact, and that's been really rewarding.
Your grandma sounds awesome, man. I love that
Yeah,
advice.
no, she is. I mean, she was a minister at my church. She was very wise.
That's beautiful. I do. Where can people get some more of your shit? What's like the number one place someone should go if they're thinking about the moving abroad stuff? They want to learn about this. Where would they start?
Yeah, so my book's available on Amazon, Veterans in Paradise, or you can hit me up on social media and I'll just email you the PDF and the free copy of it so you can check it out. And a lot of people do both. They're like, oh, I'll buy the physical copy, but if I have my computer, they can keyword search stuff and all that. Then my blog, I have a lot of articles and stuff like that. You can find all my information on johnhdaviswriter.com. So that's where you can find pretty much everything. And then, I do videos on like social media for Instagram and TikTok and stuff too.
Okay, sweet. I was thinking about that actually because I looked up your IG again to message you right before this. And I was like, what is it? It's like John H. Davis veteran or something. And I was like, oh, it's John H. Davis writer. And I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of cool actually, because I don't know if you think about this a lot, but again, one of the things we talk a lot about in our program is like how we identify ourselves and how we define
Hmm.
ourselves. It's probably the most important or impactful thing in
Yeah.
like how your life is going to go. So I think it's actually pretty cool that like the label right there in your name is like writer.
Yeah.
Like that's
Well, I
who I
wanted
am.
that,
That's what
like,
I do.
yeah, and I want to, and writing for me has been this kind of like therapeutic journey. I always tell veterans, like, you got to tell your story. And if you want to tell your story, I also have a bunch of free writing prompts on my website, like 101 writing prompts for veterans to help veterans kind of think about their service and tell their story and stuff like that. So for me, writing has been really reflective because when you talk or when you think, it's not the same. But if you actually go through and write, you have to really put some double thought into things and then you revise it and you get some more intelligence. So for me, writing has been like very therapeutic. So I want to think of myself as a writer. A lot of people like see me out and they recognize me from social media or whatever. I was like, no, 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 like I don't want to be a social media influencer. Like I want to be a writer. Like that's kind of, and writing's a solitary thing. Like that's one of the things,
Mhm.
that's just inherent in writing is you do it kind of by yourself.
Do you ever
It's a battle.
handwrite or is everything always on a computer?
So what I do is I print out and then I write over it. So I
Okay.
print out I'll print out like something like this, and then I'll mark it up with like notes and stuff like that. It's more beneficial to handwrite notes, um, because there's that mind muscle connection as opposed to typing. But I mean, I use a computer.
No, I actually like that method a lot too, especially for like editing things. But the reason I ask
Yeah,
is we talk a lot about journaling, we get people into journaling. The number one pushback is always like, "Oh, my handwriting is terrible," or like my brain moves faster than my hand can. And I'm like, that's actually the point. Because like your
yeah,
thoughts deserve to be captured nicely. Like that's
and
a
slow
big
down a little
fucking
bit.
mental shift for people. Yeah.
Yeah,
So like it forces you to slow down and like respect your ideas because what's inside your
yeah,
brain, like it deserves to be written nicely. And that's like a weird
yeah,
thing for a lot of people to start to wrap their head around. So I'm a big fan of like hand journaling for certain things, but obviously
yeah. I
if
think
you're
that's a
writing
really
a
good
blog or
idea.
something like that. Yeah. All right, man. Dude, what other things would you where else would you point people towards? What other things would you want to highlight? What other messages would you want to get out? Or you feel like kind of hit everything?
Man, I just want veterans to live the highest version of your life that you can. That is kind of like my idea behind everything. Is I just want to like be a positive force for the veteran community. If you're a veteran, you can always reach out. Like I said, I have a lot of free resources on my website as well. Um, but that's it, man. You
Cool.
know,
And he will actually message you back because I was a stranger from the internet until I messaged you, and then now we're talking.
everyone's a stranger to their friend,
Dude,
man.
that's why I fucking love Instagram for that reason, man. I'm trying to make social media social again by just actually talking to people, and then we get to do
Yeah,
cool shit like this. So thank you, buddy, for your
it's
time. I
funny
really
if people hit
appreciate
me
it.
up like, oh, I thought like a robot respond, like, nah, man, what's up? What the fuck can I do for you?
Exactly. Man, people always think every single person that follows us on Instagram, we message them. And everyone's always
Yeah,
like, is this like a fucking automated message bull? I'm like, no, I fucking hate those things so much. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
am
yeah.
saying
No,
hi
I
to
do,
you.
man.
If you
Yeah,
followed us, I figured you were interested in our shit. So maybe you're an interesting person. So I fucking say hi to you.
right.
So it does take a lot of time, but I love it because we get to do cool shit like this. All right, buddy. Go enjoy the rest of your day, man. Thank you very much for doing this. It's
All right,
awesome.
man. Thanks for talking.
See you in Mexico, buddy.
All right, you guys, that's it for this one. If you haven't already, go follow John on Instagram. Go check out his book. And as I mentioned, if you message him, he'll give you the book for free just as a PDF. So I'll have all of the links for where you can find out more about John in our episode description. And I hope that you really consider the information in this episode. Obviously, as you guys know, Cordy and I moved out of the United States to start our family. Mexico is not a perfect place to be. It's not without its issues, but we really enjoy being here. And I think that living outside the country has a lot of benefits for a lot of people, not just financially, but just the level of stress that you can insulate yourself from by exiting the system of America or Canada. I think that cannot be overstated how important that is for your health and for your well-being. So I really encourage you guys to consider everything that John talks about in this episode. So go check him out, go follow him, go start absorbing all of the content that he's putting out. If you got any questions, he's a very personable guy. You can reach out to him, you can reach out to me. We both look forward to hearing from you. As always, thank you so much for being here. Until next time, thank you very much for listening. Peace out. I'll see you in the next one.